Oh, we're really getting down to it now. Cup check. Before I start talking about this game, I just gotta say, victory puppies! Something really cool happened that I'm super excited to tell you about. During the regular season, I pledged money to the Humane Society of Durham region for every Leafs win. Then the Leafs didn't end up winning much. But I wanted to do victory puppies to honor my late dog Iggy, who passed just before the season began. It was just something I wanted to do. It was my way of grieving, my way of making myself feel better. Well, the Humane Society of Durham region heard about this, and they called me. But we came up with the idea to feature victory puppies to get them adopted. And here's the hockey card for our first victory puppy, Boo Boo. Boo Boo is a veteran, at 10 years old, weighing 8 pounds. We have a 10-year-old dog that needs a push. Here is Boo Boo. She's 10 years old, small in size, and looking for a calm, patient home to spend her golden years in. Boo Boo can be a little shy at first and needs some time to warm up to new people and surroundings, but once she feels safe, she becomes an incredibly loving and loyal companion. Because she's a bit timid, she would do better in a quieter home with mature family members rather than young children, who can sometimes be overwhelming for her. She still has so much love to give and would make a wonderful companion for someone looking for a gentle, affectionate dog. If you'd like to meet Boo Boo, she is currently staying at the Ontario SPCA Durham Region Animals Centre in Whitby, Ontario. Victory puppies. Check it out. Now, let's talk about that game. The Carolina Hurricanes win Game 5 of the 2026 Stanley Cup Final by a score of 4-2, and they take a 3-2 series lead. Game 6 is on Sunday. It's in Vegas, and the Cup will be in the building. But this series is far from over. Dude, comebacks are what Vegas does. I'm surprised they didn't do it in this one. Game 5 was the first game of this series that a multi-goal lead wasn't blown. Do you understand? Shockingly, only one lead was blown in this game, and it was Vegas's because they went up 1-0 in the first period, and that barely even counts. Now, what's been the formula about all these games? I've talked about this over and over and over again. Carolina comes out hot. Whether Vegas scores or not, or Carolina scores or not, Carolina generally looks like the more controlling team in the first period. Second period, it's all Vegas all the time, no matter who scores what. Third period, it's a little bit of jump ball. Usually, it goes in favor of the team that's losing, and then the game ends however the heck it ends. You have no idea. This game was the first game flipped on its head a bit. Carolina does not come out of the gate looking dominant. I wouldn't say Vegas did either, but they definitely looked like the better team. Luckily for Vegas, especially early on in this game, the puck had just a magnetic attachment to flying out of play. The Hurricanes just kept throwing the puck over the glass. Vegas gets a power play. Jack Eichel, who's been incredible, sets up Pavel Dorofeyev, who has been great for Vegas all playoff long. Not quite as noticeable in this series. It's not even just about the numbers. It's about, oh, hey, there's Pavel Dorofeyev being dominant. Well, he showed up here, and I actually thought he was effective all night long. And guess what? It's a 1-0 Vegas lead. So now, what are we all waiting for? That's right. The second Vegas goal. Because in every single game in this series, whoever scores first scores the second goal. Carolina ties it up with a beauty, but it is the little things that make it happen. Vegas has the puck in their own zone with time and space. They are in no danger at all, but they can't clear. In part because of the great hustle of Jalen Chatfield, who's been a revelation, not just in these playoffs, like in particular the final. I think he's looked unreal. Puck's bobbling around. Carolina still doesn't have it. Seth Jarvis works to keep it alive. Puts it on Nikolai Ehlers' stick. Now he can do some damage. All right, what are my options? All right, why don't I go to Jordan Staal, who for some reason become the best goal scorer in the entire world? McNabb loses him, and if there's any defenseman you're going to grade on a bit of a curve in this one, it's McNabb, who got like his part of his face sewn back on, and he's wearing a big old bubble. This might sound crazy, but in Game 6, I wouldn't put it past McNabb to be like, do I have to wear this? Honestly, he's probably already asked. Anyway, Ehlers throws it on. It was designed this way. Perfect tip from Jordan Staal, who actually cannot be stopped. It's 1-1 for the first time in this series. That's a real stat. It has never been 1-1 in this series. It's Game 5. This is the first time. Now, we advance to the second period. Now, you got to remember, It looked like nothing was going to get called in this game, other than throwing the puck over the glass. Taylor Hall with very clear interference on Braden McNabb. And Braden McNabb goes, all right, well, if that's allowed, pretty clear cross-checking or boarding or whatever you want to call it against Taylor Hall. And Wes McCauley, act surprised, and Chris Rooney, act surprised, didn't call it. But refs are refs at the end of the day, and they can't help but look at the scoreboard and go, you know, we did call 2 against Carolina. Now, any rational person would be like, yeah, but they put the puck over the glass. What are you supposed to do about that? But refs, they're funny creatures. Because even though they established, yeah, we're not calling anything, they're like, what, but, to leave it at 2-0, that would just be uncivilized. They're weird. They're not well-adjusted people. Anyway, Lozon gets 2 minutes for roughing Logan Stankoven. Is it a penalty? Yeah, sure. But I'm surprised they called it. And right at the end of the kill, because Vegas does kill it, they take another one. Braden McNabb, 2 minutes for cross-checking Jackson Blake while he was already down. And what's crazy about that is it wasn't even McNabb's worst cross-check of the game. It was just the only one they called. We saw the both of them. I don't get it either. Carolina on the power play. Okay, we gotta have a talk. Andrei Svechnikov, who's a great player, he fires this thing on net, and I'm like, maybe it was deflected. It was not deflected. On the stream, I called it a changeup. Maybe it went up and then sunk, and it just stayed along the ice. Let me tell you, in the NHL, in a high-stakes game in the Stanley Cup Final, this goal stinks. You've heard me on the podcast. You've heard me talk about it. Some of you call me slurs about it. I don't think Carter Hart should be playing. I don't think he should be on an NHL contract, but I also don't think he's done a very good job. And like heading into the series, I could not like him while also acknowledging, well, he does stop the puck. Dude, he's been awful. Take bias out of it and throw it out the window because he's allowed 4 or more goals in all 5 games of the Stanley Cup Final, and he's the first goalie to ever do that. Because I assume every goalie before him was either not bad enough to do that or were not given the opportunity to be bad enough to do that because they were pulled. Maybe there's a screen. I know it's a power play goal. This goal stinks. We'll talk more about that later because John Tortorella does not think so. Not long after, the puck is sent deep into the Vegas zone. Jordan Martinook does a great job keeping this alive. Tries to set up Svechnikov. It goes right by him to Shane Gostisbehere. Head on a swivel. Immediate pass to Sebastian Aho. No goalie stopping that one. That was beautiful. Aho! Mouth guard. Not even close to ever in his mouth. But yelling, celebrating with the crowd in Raleighwood, which I had never heard it called, but I liked it. The Hurricanes take a 3-1 lead. Oh, they took a 3-1 lead. What are they, stupid? Dude, that's a multi-goal lead. What are you thinking? They don't exist in this series. They don't last very long. This series is so dumb that when Aho made it 3-1 for Carolina, it felt like he scored the tying goal for Vegas. Now, third period is interesting from a reffing standpoint. And if I were a Vegas fan, I'd be a little salty about it. I'd be wrong, but I would also be salty about it. Let me explain. Jack Eichel tripped Nikolai Ehlers in the third period. He did, and Ehlers was going for the puck, and he would have got there, but he was tripped by Jack Eichel. And Eichel's reaction says it all, because he doesn't fight them on it, because he knows it's a trip, but he's also like, but you called it? It was so weird. When the McNabb-Hall back and forth happened, every hockey fan watching that game thought the same thing. Oh, murder's legal tonight. After all, it's Wes McCauley, it's Chris Rooney, it's Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Final. We were kind of due for this. That's going to be the whistle. The Eichel one was the one they could have ignored, but it was pretty blatant, and it did affect who had the puck, so they called it. Carolina does not score, but Vegas is still down 2 goals, and that's valuable time pouring off the clock. What really put Vegas in a pickle is when Mark Stone took a double minor for high sticking on Jalen Chatfield, who I was worried got it right in the eye. As far as I could tell, they didn't call a penalty on the play. At least I didn't hear them. You couldn't even hear the whistle on the broadcast. It was loud. But it is absolutely high sticking. And again, Mark Stone sees it on the Jumbotron. He makes a face, which you can make a face, but he didn't argue because he knows. That's one where I'm like, well, you're putting the whistle into the ref's mouth. It's so blatant, but also did you call it in the first place? Again, I'm not salty about the officiating. They got the call right. But if I'm a Vegas fan, I'm going, you got it right. But now, on the double minor penalty kill, Vegas does kill the first minor. Okay, 1 to go, and then we have time to work here. Now, a lot of the discourse after this game is going to be about goaltending, and all of that discourse is valid. However, Nick Ehlers finds a slightly open Andrei Svechnikov here. If you put a hockey stick in the hands of a potato, I think it could have scored a goal here. And it's 4-1 Carolina with under 9 minutes to go. And most of you normal, well-adjusted people were like, 4-1, surely that's it. Normal, well-adjusted people? Do I look like one of those? No, I was like, Vegas has them right where they want them. And Pavel Dorofeyev scores his second of the night, and I'm like, see? The whole building, which was loud all night, was like, nah. Carolina's doing a good job. They're doing a pretty good job. Time is winding down. Did Nick Ehlers just do it again? Carolina took 3 penalties in this game. 3. All of them were for throwing the puck over the glass. 2 of them were Ehlers. Ehlers had 3 points in this game, and Carolina ended up winning, and it's lucky for him that none of us will remember he spent 4 minutes in the box because he put the puck over the glass. But Carolina was incredible. Brandon Bussey was incredible. He was great all night, but he was great down the stretch. And heroic stuff, crazy blocks from Keandre Miller, screaming profanities after he did it, and then blocking it with a stick and clearing it down the ice. Carolina ends up pulling it off, and now they are 1 win shy of the 2026 Stanley Cup. And the cup is indeed going to be in the building on Sunday, because we got 2 days off here. But if you think this series is over, I just don't think you've been watching. I don't think you've been paying attention. There was a stat tonight. Vegas has 9 come from behind wins. And I'm like, yeah, they've been doing that all season. No, it's 9 come from behind wins just in the playoffs. 4 of them in the third period in these playoffs. I think the weirdest thing about this game, and the thing that makes it stand out the most from the previous 4, is that there wasn't a comeback in this one. But here is the X factor, and I haven't mentioned it yet. William Carlson. Carlson absorbs a hit behind the Vegas net from Sean Walker. His left arm goes in weird. We don't know what happened. All we know is he left very shortly after speaking to the trainer. He went to hospital, and after the game, John Tortorella said William Carlson is very likely done for the Stanley Cup Final. Adam Wilde, sitting next to me doing the podcast this year, he's been on one. He called the Ducks making the playoffs before the season even began, which was nuts at the time. It ended up looking not very nuts, but definitely before Christmas. Before the season, I was like, you're out of your mind. He streamed Vegas's first 2 playoff rounds, the first against Utah and then against Anaheim, and was preaching over and over and over again the gospel of William Carlson and how different the Vegas Golden Knights looked once he was in the lineup. And the proof is in the pudding. It was a tight series against the Ducks. William Carlson comes back. They dispatch them. They go into the Western Conference Final against a heavily injured Colorado Avalanche team, but it's still the Colorado Avalanche. They sweep them. And look at how Vegas has scored at will in these games. Not just the Stanley Cup Final, but all the games William Carlson has been in. He's such a good all-around player. I love the work that he does in the neutral zone. Vegas looks dangerous every time he steps foot on the ice, no matter what he's doing. Losing him was visible and obvious, especially when Vegas needed a goal so bad. To start Game 6 without him is devastating to Vegas's cause. I don't know if he's going to play Game 6. I highly, highly doubt it. If this goes 7, guys have more than one person has played a playoff game in the NHL with a punctured lung. I wouldn't put anything past anyone but it doesn't sound good. Before we get to questions, more records! Chris Johnston. Jordan Staal becomes the first player to score in 5 straight games to start the Stanley Cup Final since Jean Beliveau in 1956. Maurice Richard in 1951 and Cyclone Taylor in 1918 are the only other players to do it. All right, excuse me while I immediately Google Cyclone Taylor. Born in... This is the picture. This man was born June 23rd, 1884. He died June 9th, 1979. He was old. Wow. Good for him. In his first 2 seasons with the Vancouver Millionaires, Cyclone Taylor, Fred Cyclone Taylor, had 32 goals and no assists, followed by 23 goals and no assists. And the reason he had no assists is they did not have assists. If I'm not mistaken, this was also about over a decade before they introduced the forward pass. Anyway, wow. By the way, Jordan Staal is now the betting favorite for the Conn Smythe, ahead of Mitch Marner, which I actually think is crazy. I know Staal's team is the one within 1 win of the Stanley Cup, but that is still nuts. Logan Stankoven, who is probably the second most likely Hurricane, if not most likely, is third. Nikolai Ehlers has posted 3 points in back-to-back Stanley Cup Final games. Last players to do that in the same Stanley Cup Final. Connor McDavid 2 years ago. Mario Lemieux 1991. Wayne Gretzky 1988. And if Lemieux or Gretzky threw the puck over the glass, it was just a souvenir. That's it. No penalty. And Brandon Bussey. In Bussey we trusty, says the Hurricanes' official Twitter account. That's the thing they said. First goalie in NHL history to make his first 2 career playoff starts in the Stanley Cup Final and win both games. After the game, John Tortorella said, "We'll be back here. I'm going to leave my clothes here, that's for sure, in the hotel." That's a cool quote. That's stone cold. What is slightly more torts, John Tortorella asked if he considered replacing Carter Hart with Adin Hill during Game 5. He said, "Oh, for Christ, that could be the stupidest question I've heard." So, Hart, again, first goalie to allow 4 more goals in 5 straight games to start a Stanley Cup Final. Here's what I said on the stream. Because it was 3-1 Carolina heading into the third. I said, either Hill starts the third period of this game, and then you have the option of using Hill in Game 6, or Hart finishes this game, and you've basically committed to him for Game 6, for Game 7, for better or for worse, till death do you part. Carolina had a luxury that Vegas may not have, and it's so strange. Freddie Anderson was great heading into the series. He faltered. There are many reasons for why that may have happened, but it happened. Carolina was able to go to Brandon Bussey, who they trusted. He did very well for them. Even if he was up and down this season, he did extremely well for them. Adin Hill was awful for the Vegas Golden Knights this regular season. He actually had comparable numbers to Freddie Anderson in the regular season. The difference is that Hill did not then play 3 sparkling rounds of playoff hockey. They won a Stanley Cup with this man. They won a Stanley Cup with Adin Hill. He was on the 4 Nation Faceoff roster. There's a photo. I can see it. He's in it. That was last year. They will not play this guy. He won a cup for them. But Vegas is very, what have you done for me lately? They know they can win a Stanley Cup with Bruce Cassidy as their coach. They fired that guy 8 games before the playoffs. They could start Adin Hill, and it would be so easily justifiable to basically anyone in the hockey world. Like, oh, yeah, no, it's the Stanley Cup Final, you're facing elimination. Play the guy who you won a cup with. Yeah, for sure. They don't trust him at all. And what's weird about that, okay, then don't trust him, okay? Akira Schmid was fine for you this season. He had a 16, 10, and 6 record, which is not great, but you get a decent amount of points there, with an .893 save percentage, which is not very good. It's not horrible. Not in today's NHL. And the argument against that is, well, I mean, Hill is the more experienced guy. Well, then play him! John Tortorella has his guy. It's Carter Hart, who had very good numbers heading into the series and does not have good numbers in the series. And unless he picks it up, Well, I don't need to finish that, do I? Questions. Does this series help the wound that a 42-year-old Zamboni driver left in your heart? No! What? The Leafs aren't a win away from the Stanley Cup. What? How does this help me? Not sure if anyone caught it, but Canes fans were chanting "Go Leafs Go" in the middle of the third period to mock Marner. I did not catch it, and one day it won't be about the Leafs, and today is just not that day. Do you still think Vegas does it? So my official bet prediction before this series began was Vegas in 6. That is officially off the table. I think if you're counting Vegas out of this Cup final, you're out of your mind. And obviously haven't watched hockey for 2 months. Can Carolina do this? I mean, yeah, obviously. They've won back-to-back games by more than 1 goal. They seem relatively healthy. Bussy just gave them the best goaltending performance of this Stanley Cup final. If Carlson doesn't play for Vegas, there's another knock. McNabb is obviously not at 100% with that cage on. There's another knock. But John Tortorella thrives in us against the world. And he gets to preach that gospel to Vegas for the next 48 to 72 hours before a game in their barn. That's going to be a really, really difficult game to win for whoever ends up winning it. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. For now, that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell your friends. I'm doing a book signing and I want to see you there. On the day of Game 6, I'm going to be at the grand opening of Indigo Spirit Don Mills, and I'm going to be there June 14th from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern. And then I got a jet because I got a beer league game. Oh, and then after that, a stream. Very important stream.